a record. Okay, so you will have to approve that, as you know. And we'll go to the video, as they say. So you can actually do this on any browser, but as a general rule, I recommend anytime you're doing stuff with Google, it's best to do it on the Chrome browser. It kind of naturally works. So you can actually just do Google Sites. And you're going to get, if you've worked in Google before, you're going to get this familiar, kind of opening page that you have on a lot of your Google applications. And what you're going to see at the top are some templates. So I want to start with that. So they don't give you a ton of templates, but there's a few. So I'm just going to, open up like one or two of them so you can just get a look at what they look like. So for example, let's see, I think there's one for a restaurant. And actually, it's not a bad little site. It's not, particularly. It's got some images. It's got 3 pages, one with a map. It's got some information about the chef, some nice pictures, and a menu that you can then customize. So that would be an example of a template. And even if you don't have a restaurant, you could decide I'm just going to remove this. And you could remove that. And then I'll just show you one more. There's actually one for a class as well, if you're in education or a club. Let's actually take a look at this. Actually, the dog walker's kind of a nice site as well. And what's nice about these sites is everything's been laid out. So I think this is just a 1-page site. So it's really kind of basic. So we're really not going to work with templates today. We're actually going to start from scratch. That's always my preference, although I have one that I've been playing with. So I may refer back to that one just to show you some features. But let's assume you're starting from scratch. So you're going to go to blank. Now, when you go to blank, your site is going to be unnamed. And what you always want to do with that's just a good Google practice, is always, and by the way, it hints, do you want to try a template? But we're not going to do that. Okay. We're just going to call this fake site 1. Just so I can delete it later, okay? And what you're going to notice is you have this title page. So let's first start with themes. So Google Sites gives you a few themes: simple, Aristotle, diplomat, level, impression. And those themes are going to give you, they're going to select the fonts, the color scheme, etc. And until about 8 months ago, 9 months ago, that was all you could really do. You were very limited. Now, that wasn't bad. They were nice layouts, but you really didn't have the ability to do really a lot of customizations. More recently, they've added the ability to customize. You can actually create your own theme. So again, I can call it just Jeff's theme. And I'm not going to create one completely. What I'm just going to do is show you all of the options. So you can select any of the preset colors or do your own custom colors. You can pick your fonts, and you now have the ability to select from all the fonts and even more fonts that are part of the Google suite. So you can usually match whatever is the font style for your organization, etc. And I'm just going to leave this the way it is. And now it's going to create my fake theme. And then I can actually, if I like this, and I think it's a really cool one of the things that I can do with it is I can actually share it. Now, so to share, I have to publish, but so I'm just going to publish this. And then at that point, I can share it. So I have one that I've actually shared already. So I'm actually going to go to Word just to show you what it looks like. So when you share a site, it gives you a link. And in this particular case, this is the ability to share and edit, okay? So what you want to do, if you want to send your template to somebody else, is you're going to take the link and you're going to delete everything until just before the P. So basically, I'll do it again. You're going to delete everything that's just before the P. And you're going to replace it with, and I'm going to send you this, or this recording, template preview. And I did this below. So once you do that, if you then, this is a different one. This is my fake template site. But when I go to open this, okay, it's just going to show you my fake site. But you're going to notice up top, it says use template. So somebody then at that point can just create this template. So this is really good. For example, let me give you an example of where this might be useful. I'll just shut off the recording for a minute just so I can see a few of your faces. So that would be really useful, for example, if you were, say, a school district and you wanted to have, or a school, and you wanted to have all of the, all of the individual classroom sites to have a similar look. Or if you're an association like NAEOP, and you wanted to have, let's say there are certain colors and schemes within your state association. So local chapters wanted to create a site, they all could, follow the same colors. So that's kind of that's a new thing, this ability to really do customization, which means basically you can do really anything you want with these sites. Because I think that was a little bit of a criticism. It was inexpensive and it was, easy, but you were kind of locked into their limited universe. And now you really can do anything you want. Okay. So I'm actually going to get rid of this, and we're actually going to use by the way, my recommendation is actually to start with one of their basic themes if you've never created a site before. So I'm just going to pick one at random. It doesn't really matter. I think we'll use Diplomat. Actually, I like Vision. We use Vision. Okay. So the first thing that you're going to see when you do your pages, and I'm going to take you through like a lot of the details. Okay. So the first thing, and once again, I want to name this. So let's call it Fake 2, is you have the ability to add a logo. You can actually upload your logo. So I've actually created like a little folder so I could find all the stuff I need quickly. So I have like a copy of my logo and I can actually place it in. And you should be able to see my logo up top. Now, you don't have to have a logo, but if you want one, you can do it. The other thing that you can do, if you go to the bottom, is add a footer. Okay, and I'm not going to do the whole footer, but I could just have the name of my company. I'm not a great typist, by the way. And my address, and that footer is now going to appear on every single page that I create. So if I create a 6-page website, it's going to have, every page is going to have that. So this top thing is called a banner, okay? And, usually it's going to be about my site. So I thought a fun topic for today, since we're not doing a really, would be the beach. Anybody like the beach? I'm a big fan of the beach. Okay. So we're actually going to create a site about, the beach. So it's obviously kind of a fake site, but it'll give you an idea. Okay. So the first thing is the banner types or the header types. Okay. So you really have like a bunch of header types. So you can have a cover, which essentially is the whole page is like the banner. You can have a large banner, you can have a small banner, or you can have a title really without the banner. Okay, and that you can change these anytime you want. Now, unfortunately, this image is not a good image for the beach, right? I mean, this was like the template image. So I actually have the ability to change the image. And again, I got all ready with my beach pictures, okay? So I can now select a particular picture, and it usually does a good job. If it's a very dark image, it'll actually change the text to white and vice versa. So I'm going to just pull a different one. Let's see. I think I like that one. How's that? Does that work? Okay. And we'll have many other beach images to look at. So I just put an image in. Now here again, my purpose is to show you kind of little tricks and stuff. So you can't put a video in your in your banner, but you can put a GIF. Not every GIF's great, but you can do a GIF. So I'm going to show you one that's a GIF. So what do you think? Like it? Okay. I kind of like that one. Every time I do this, I do something different. Okay. So we now have our banner. And again, we could have this be our whole first page, right? Like our first home page. But in this particular case, I'm going to put some text and images below it. So I'm going to go to insert. And by the way, I should have taken you over to the menu here. So you have page themes, which we already looked at, pages and insert. Pages are how you add additional pages to your site. I'll show you that in a minute. So you can either go over to insert, or if you don't do that, you can actually double click and you get a version of insert that just comes up that really actually has all the items. So you can either go to insert a text box or insert an image, or you can do the item. So I'm actually going to start by inserting an image. So once again, I'm not going to pick a GIF. You could, but we'll pick another one of my various beach pictures. So there we have our little lovely little tropical drink. Now I can then add text below it. Okay. And here's what's kind of cool. Good idea when you're doing your site. You can certainly type your site from scratch, but a lot of people would recommend, having like your text already pre-done. And you can actually copy, this is Word, but you can do the same thing with, Google Docs. And then I can just have my text ready. Now, one thing that they did that's a nice change, before you had no control over your fonts. You could select like sizes, title, heading, subtitle, but it was really determined by the theme. But here now you actually can change them up. So it'll give you your standard font, whatever the font was for the theme. In this particular case, it's probably picking it up from the copying. But I have the ability to change it to anything I want, if I ever get it right. So I'm not limited, and I can change the size as well. So now I put this below, but I also actually have the option of moving it. Sometimes it's tricky to get them to move, but I'll do my best. I'll try. I also should be able to move it up. and have it next to it. And again, I probably don't have enough text, or I need to make it the size better to make it work here. But I could, put it next to it. So I have some ability to control. I can actually also put text. I'm just going to add another image just to give you some of the possibilities here when you're working with images. Okay. I can actually also add text right, like almost into the image. So once again, this is usually good for a title. Okay. So what I can actually do is bring it up. Once again, sometimes hard to move them. Oops, wanted it above it. It ended up putting it on the one above. But notice it actually is like part of the image. I got it this time. And what's nice is once I do that, then as I change the image, it'll automatically correspond with it. It stays with it. Okay, so I have the ability to do it next to it. It even gives me the option here. I wasn't going to show you this, to do like a collapse, which you actually won't see unless you view. If you ever want to view your site, you can go to preview and it gives you options to actually view your site. But notice bold pier doesn't open up until that's a collapsible. Okay, maybe a little fancier than you want to look. Okay, so just for what we have now, let me go over the preview again. So within the preview, which is up top, it looks like a little screen. I actually have three options. I can see what my site would look like approximately on a phone, what it would look like on a tablet, and what it would look like, on a desktop computer. So you could theoretically, if you're going to be having a site that's really mostly going to be looked at by people on a phone, and I did a site like that, then I might, do some changes in the way I do this. Okay, so we've put an awful lot on that page, and obviously this is sort of a mishmash just to give you an idea of features. So I'm going to actually create another page. Now it always starts with a home page, so I'm going to I'll just call this Love Beach. And you'll notice up top, I now have two pages. And you'll also notice that it used the same banner, which does not mean I can't change that. So I'll change it to something else. Hopefully I'll like it. Okay. So notice the banners are different. So I'm going to create an additional page. And I want to show you this because this is interesting. If I'm on my home page, when I create an additional page, it's going to use the same banner as my home page because I was on that. If I was on this page, and by the way, I can switch the order if I want. If I was on my Love Beach page and I created another page, then it's going to pick up that banner. So when you create a page, if you want them to kind of be related, make sure that when you create the page, you're on the page where you want the banner to be duplicated for. So notice the first one is this banner, which is a GIF, then this, and then this goes back to my home. So let me stop for a minute. Any questions so far? I hope I didn't overwhelm anybody. You with me so far? Just give me a yes and no. Want to see anything again? Okay. So again, since we're just really looking at what the features are, I'm going to just pick my Love Beach page, and we're going to look at other options for inserting text and images, okay? So if you go to insert, they now have these really nice content blocks. So I design my content myself. If you notice, I put my image in, then I had to kind of rearrange the text and play around, but actually they give you templates for that. So I can click this and it automatically brings me to my upload. I can pick an image and it then gives me a title. And then I can insert my text. And once again, I'm just gonna, to save time, I'll just take some text. And once again, I can change the font if I don't like it, or I can leave it. But notice that it laid it all out. So the templates are really terrific. And then I can just widen my image so it matches up. But I didn't have to, fiddle around with, messing around with trying to lay it out. And if you notice here, there are actually a few of them. So here's one with 2 pictures. I'm not going to do all of them. It's just to show you where they are. I don't like this one. Yeah. Whoops. No, probably not. So I kind of messed this one up by trying to delete, but I can, I can have multiple images. And they have a bunch of templates. So here's one with just 3 pictures, etc. Okay. Any questions so far? So that makes your layout work much, much easier. Okay. So I want to just go over with you some of the other ones that are here. Okay. So one of the items that's available is a collapsible group. So what's a collapsible group might be, it's usually like a title, and then you only see it if you click it. And we saw an example of that before when I actually selected collapse, but this is one of the features that's available. Okay. So for example, I can put, again, I'm just making stuff up, but and then under that, I'll put the same text, since we're just really using dummy text just to show you what the features are. And you'll notice it will open and close. So I'll just show it to you how it would look if you were actually looking at the site. So it doesn't actually open up until you click it. And it actually makes for a nice look. Okay. And you could have like 3 or 4 of them, and each one just opens up. So it makes the page look a little bit smaller, but and then you can kind of click as you go along. So once again, let me just stop. Any questions so far? Pretty easy, right? Oh, Charlene, you made it back. All right. All right, there you go. All right. So let's go back and look at the pages again. Okay. And, I realize that I'm doing a little bit of a mishmash here. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, obviously wouldn't make any sense in a beach thing, but I'm just going to do it anyway, just to show you. Okay, something that you probably have seen. Okay, so let's assume that this was a school district site. Okay, and so you very often you'll see, something like schools. So, and I'm just going to move this to the bottom. So I have the ability to create under it subpages. Actually, I didn't want to do that. Because I actually wanted to do a subpage under here. And then I could have middle school. I'll just do one more. And so I just wanted to show you what that looks like. Everybody got that? Questions? So you have the ability to do, like subpages. Kind of neat. Okay. And obviously it doesn't only have to be about that. So if you've noticed, my page kind of table of contents for my site is up top. And for something this size, this is fine. But what happens if you're really having a crazy elaborate site, then at some point it can get a little too much. So if you go to your settings, you have the ability to select having it on the side. Now you won't actually see it until you do the preview. But if you do a preview, this is what it would look like, on the side. And you have the ability to, go a lot further down. So it's just a design option. My preference is top, unless it's really a very, like an extremely large site. Okay. All right. So let's publish our site. Okay. So one of the things it's going to ask is, what do you want to really name it? And this has to do with whether you want to pay any money or not. Okay. And the purpose. Okay. Because this is another new feature I really like. Okay. So initially, one of the knocks for Google Sites was that you only really could have the sites hosted by them. And so they were really hard to search. I mean, they were fine if you shared a link, but they were hard to search. So they have recently matched in the ability to add a domain name. Okay. And you can actually buy a domain from Google. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what that process is like. It's actually, you could also get this right from your settings as well. So if you went to your settings before I cancel the, I could go to custom domains, right? And if I already have an existing domain, like for example, I had an old website, and I own it, I could select it. But if I don't, I could buy one. And I'm not going to buy one. I have a few, okay? But I'm just going to show you the process that you undergo to buy one. And by the way, I did this one for the beach and it was like $900, okay? And I'll explain why. So I love the beach, okay? So it's telling me I can't even have .com because somebody else has that already. But I can have others. I can have .net, .org. And if I want the .com, I got to pay $3,000 to get it from whoever owns it already. So needless to say, I'm not going to buy that, okay? But if you're an organization, chances are you're not going to really run into any kind of problem buying a domain. The reason why I love the beach is that, it's good for marketing for a hotel or whatever. So it's a popular one, okay? But notice you could, but if you're willing to buy a .org or any of the other endings, you actually usually can buy anything, okay? But let's assume it wasn't something like this. It was just, I don't know, I don't know. Can't think of anything. We'll see what happens with that one. So some of them are really expensive, but if you're usually picking one like, just, I don't know, I'll do PamPosey.com. Okay, ooh, there must be, you must own one already, Pam. Okay, or somebody else does. But I could get .net. So the bottom line really is that you can usually, unless you want to buy a high-end domain, you can get a domain for $12 a year. And you actually only have to buy 1 year at a time. It'll automatically renew, and you can do that right through Google. Okay. Somehow I knocked myself out of Google Sites, so I'm going to go back in again. And like with everything else in Google, they're saved, okay? So do you need a domain? Should you get a domain, okay? I would say if you're developing a site for your department or for your, like if you're going to create an intranet site, there's really no reason. You can let Google host. If you are looking for a site that you're hoping people can search for, then it pays to buy a domain. But we're really talking, a nominal amount of money, but it may not be necessary. So for example, if you wanted to create a site so you could share pictures with your family members and you're just going to send them the link, you don't really need to buy a domain. So in this particular case, I'm going to publish this. I'll unpublish it later. And if you notice up top, if you can see it, it just says sites at google.com view my fate. So yeah, that's possible. You could actually look up who owns it, but a lot of times you won't be able to find the person. You'll find the company they bought it from. But anyway, I can actually have it hosted by just Google for free. I will tell you, even when you buy a domain, the domain is just a pointer. So it's really still hosted by Google. It's just that when you buy a domain, like for example, I just redid my website and all it does is redirect it here anyway. So you can certainly start without a domain. Okay, and now I've published my site, and I can't really do any of the sharing until I publish, and that's what I want to talk about next. Okay, so here I have an ability to publish my site. Okay, that's not what I want to do. I want to talk about sharing my site. Okay, so I can decide to share my site as a public site, which means that anybody who searches and can find it, or anybody who has the link, can access the site. But maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I want to create an intranet site. I want to restrict it. And I only want to allow the people who I invite. Okay. Now, one of the challenges here is and again, I can just allow them to view. If I share it this way, only the people whose emails have I put in can actually see the site. And in fact, if someone else even has the link, if one of their emails is not here, they will not be able to access the site. So that is really the difference between an intranet and an intranet site, okay? If the site is accessible to everyone, it's an internet site. If you restrict it to just the people whose emails you've put in, it's an internet site. It's an intranet site. So I did an intranet site. It's kind of a work in progress. It's more of a template. But I did an intranet site for a transportation department. Okay, let's see if I can find that one. Okay. So many fake sites. Here we go. Let's see.
That is at the bottom.
Yeah, there we go. And then, that site at that point would only be accessible to people who I allow, to have access. So this is especially good if you are if you're a Google district, because in order to allow people to have access to it, they have to have a Gmail account. Those are the only ones that are restricted. So if you're a district that's a Gmail, a Google district, then all of your district emails are Gmail accounts. So you can actually just create a little group list of all the employees in a department, and then you can give them authorization. Okay. If not, you can still do it, but everybody has to get an email, a Gmail email. That's the only requirement. If it's a public site, it's not even an issue. So I'll just share my personal trainer who's in Canada. I do virtual. So she has a wonderful site, but she also has a members only area. So she asked me how to do that in Google Sites. So what I told her is do a link to a separate site. In other words, if you click this link, you get brought to a different site, and then have that site be restricted. So anybody can view her main site, but only her members, the people whose emails she's put in, can access all the cool videos, in the previous recordings. So you do have an ability to even have a main site and then have like an intranet site that just backs up pieces of it. Okay, so we're gonna look at just some additional, we have about another 15 minutes, just some additional options in terms of things you can add to your pages. I think we'll do next page, just so I have a blank page. So this is a really nice one. This is called an image carousel. Okay. Sure, absolutely. Well, what do you mean? What type of video? Are you talking about a YouTube video or other video? Okay. All right. So let me answer the other video question first. And let me just check something. I know I'm going between documents here. So these are all the formats that Google site will recognize. So you'll notice it'll recognize MP3, MPEG with, movie, which is Apple's. These are all like video types, okay? Even WebM, okay? So if your video is in any of these formats, all you have to do is upload the video into Google Drive, and then you can then put it into your site, okay? It's even easier if you upload it to YouTube as an unlisted YouTube video, which means only people that have access to your site can see, and then you can add it in that way. So as long as you're one of these formats, which are common video formats, you should be okay, all right? Do these look familiar to you or you don't know?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I personally think the easier way is to upload the video to YouTube, create a playlist, and then put the videos on your site. And that I will show you today. Okay. But you can do it. So what I'm showing you now, because I know is answering the question, okay, is how you add a carousel. So I'm just going to pick a few images that are all from my little, beach list here. I'll do one more. And now I'm going to insert them. Now you don't really, this is another one of those things you don't really see until you preview. Okay. So I'm now going to go to preview and you'll get an idea what this looks like. What happened here? Maybe I messed up on something. Hold on. It should be on. Okay, let's try again. There we go. So notice I have these little, and you've seen these on sites, these ability to have like a little bit of a bar, and I can have, dozens of pictures. Instead of having them all lay out, you kind of can look through them. Okay. Yes, I will be. Yeah. Okay. So that's a carousel. Let's talk about a button. So with a button, you always have a name. Now you can link a button to any one of your pages, and that would return you back to that page. And this I may actually have to, I'm not sure if this will work here. Yeah, it returns me to my home page. Okay. You could also use a button to do an outside link. So for example, and I'm not going to do it here. Well, actually, maybe I will. So I could have a button that takes you actually, and you just have to copy it, copy the URL. And that will actually take you to an outside site. Okay. So I won't do it now. Okay. So that's another option, a button. They can be kind of nice. Okay. So what else can you add? All right. So if you look down below, you'll see you can add all of the common documents that are part of the Google suite. So you can add a doc, you can add a slide. And again, I'll just show you what that looks like. It's going to show you all of your common slides. It takes a minute to load, and all I have to do is insert it in. And now I can actually run it. It'll run from the site once I am in preview. I can even set it to auto. By the way, if I click this, it's going to take me full page, but it'll take me out of my site and just into Google Slides. The one thing you don't see here, by the way, that's one way you can add it. You can also add it by the way, going to Drive and selecting your document. What you don't see among these lists is PDF. So can you add a PDF to your site? The answer is yes, but you have to do it a particular way. So to insert a PDF, you have to go to Drive up top. See where it has text, images, and it's going to open your Drive. Now, of course, I was prepared. I did this beforehand. Okay. So hold on one second while it loads up. Okay. So I believe, actually, I'm not sure. I know where I put it. So, okay, there we go. So here is it's a calendar from one of my local school districts. You know, it's which many of you've seen. So this is obviously a static calendar. It's not a dynamic calendar. Now I can put a dynamic calendar. I actually don't need a button for that. I can actually just select Google Maps and it'll click me right into Google Maps. But notice I have a calendar. This is a PDF, but this could be another kind of PDF. So for example, if you were posting your athletic schedule or your church services, you could, and it's in a PDF, you could include it in, but you have to have it, you have to upload it into Google Drive and then just select it. Okay. So you also can put and I'm not going to do this, but you could create a separate calendar. Okay. I mean, at that point, you know, merge that calendar into your site. And this would be more dynamic. It would look like a calendar for the week, you know, et cetera, and show, so you could do that. So if you wanted a less static calendar, you could do that. You can also put in a map. And here you would want to put the location. And now you have a map of that area. And you can actually put a whole address.
Amazing.
Okay. And then that's going to appear in your site. And then at that point, there's a click for directions. Okay. So you really wouldn't need like a link to use the button. You would use the map. Okay. All right. One other thing I want to show you, I just want to make sure I get everything done. Okay. Well, actually, the easiest way for me to show you this is to show you my site. I was planning to do that, which I created using Google Sites. So this is my firm site. And you'll notice that I have this event and I was able to put in, I have now blocked this so you can't actually open it up, but I can put a Google form into my site. So I'm just going to show you how you do that. Okay. So we'll do our little fake beach site again. And I don't know, I'll pick a page to put it, maybe one of the school pages just because they're blank. And I can go to the bottom and insert a Google form. Now it's best if you have the form already pre-made. Okay. So you would have a form already made and people can actually fill out the form right on your site. And again, I'll just show you what that looks like when it's viewed. So you can build that in. Okay, that's beyond what I want to do here today. You need a third party. You can certainly do links to online options, but it's not something they can just automatically pick through Google. You would have to add, you would have to embed. Okay, but you have the ability to embed, so it's not a problem. Okay, let's continue.
Can you make that form collapsible?
No, you cannot make a form collapsible. I don't think so. Okay, let's talk about YouTube. So you can do a search for a YouTube video, but I think for the most part, you're going to want to use a video that you own. Okay. So I can just pick something that is already mine. This way, there's no issues. I can then widen it out to any size I want. I can add text to the side of it. I'm not going to do that right now. And then it can actually run right from the site. Okay. And I have no problem with this, with copywriting, because it's mine.
And you all have to approve that now.
And then I can run it right from the site. You can also open up full length. That'll take you out of the site. But for example, in my site, my business site, I have some videos, and I even put a nice little background on each one of them, and then they'll run. Now you have to be in the preview mode to actually see what they do when they run, or you have to load the site, but they'll run. Okay, so you have pretty much the ability to add any of these. I'm not going to do charts with you. If you have a spreadsheet you want to share, it is possible to put a PowerPoint presentation in without uploading it to Google Slides. I don't recommend it. You have to embed it. It's real tricky with getting the layouts right, but it is possible to do. If you upload any of your documents, a Word document, slides, into Google Docs, into Google Drive, and so it puts it into the Google native format, it's easy peasy, no problem. You can scale them, So that's generally the recommendation, unless there's really a compelling reason, like there are transitions you really love. And likewise if you had a spreadsheet, you could certainly put it in the site, but I would recommend putting it into, uploading it into Google Sheets. Okay, let's see if there's anything else I left out. You can also unpublish your site if for some reason, like it's a work in progress, and you kind of you want to do a bunch of updates on it. It isn't until you actually publish it that it it goes sort of online to the public. So you could certainly decide, I'm going to work on it, or what, it's out of date, I want to take it down, and you can temporarily take it down. You can review it, but I could unpublish my site, which is not going to delete the site from my, from my Google Drive. I still have the site, but it's just not now accessible. And there may be reasons, maybe over the summer, where you want to do major updates and you don't have enough time to do them right away, because you got if even an association, you got all the wrong leaders, it's out of date, addresses are wrong, and you just don't have the time. So you take it down temporarily, and when you have the time, you update it, or you update a little at a time, and when you're ready, you can publish it. So you don't have to, it's not always live. It doesn't really become live till you publish it. And that's pretty standard for websites. Okay, I think, I have a little bit of extra time. What I'm gonna do is